ADOS, 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 ADOS. We're here. We're here. That never gets old. So we are here for the inauguration party.
In the building. What's up, family? Thanks everyone for joining. So I see, looks like we got the special guest in the building, Mr. Citizen Edge. What's up, man?
What's up, everybody? Happy 19th.
2021. So I don't know if we want to go around the room. Maybe start off with Kim. Give our salutation.
Kim, ADOS, CA Media.
Umoya, CA Media. I know you want to go. Yeah,
my bad, bro. I was caught in the spotlight looking at my brother. No, it's Citizen Edge, Black Issues Firearm Channel, protect yourself at all times, always, every day. You know what I'm saying? It's all good.
That's right. That's what
my bad. Go ahead. CEO.
Not bad. I was just responding. What's up, folks? How y'all doing tonight? CEO in the building. I roll deep with ADOS Media. On the ground team in Los Angeles. Like here for it.
Yeah, and for those who don't know, Chris, ADOS, Greater Sacramento area, ADOS Sacktown. What's up, fam? Happy inauguration, pre-party, pre-day. It's gonna be wild, like Trump said.
The unknown is upon us.
So we are here after the longest election season in history. All right. So a lot going on. Let's see. Moya, before we get started, I'm going to toss it to you for a little housekeeping.
All right. Show intro, show outros, voiceover, script copy, 15 and 30-second promos, 2 business day turnaround. You need any of that, just hit us up at ADOSCA Media Group. That's ADOSCA Media Group at gmail.com.
Yes.
Right on.
Surprise.
And we have another guest in the house.
What's up, everybody? Can you guys hear me?
Rita.
Loud and clear.
What's good, CEO? What's good, everybody? Good evening. West Coast in the building. ADOSCA Media.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, Rita Forte from the Bay.
Yes. Oakland, California, to be specific. If we want to even get more specific than that, East Oakland,
East Oakland in the house.
I saw some footage of your caravan, your MLK caravan yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
Look
legit.
We painted the town reparations. They say we painted the town red. No, we painted the town reparations. On Sunday, went from downtown Oakland all the way to East Oakland, and had a caravan of about, I think we were like at least 15 strong, honking our horns, disturbing the peace, letting them know, we coming to get our check, reparations. So no, it was a great MLK event that we had. Shout out to everybody, ADOS Bay Area chapter. Yep.
So,
check our socials for the receipts for the footage. Yeah.
right.
Yeah, that was
Right
awesome.
on, right on. All right, so I guess we will get into it and see how everybody is out anticipating this inauguration. We'll start with BLM. They put out a little shout out on MLK Day. I don't know how many of you saw this, the twerk on Washington. Let's see what they had to say about it. Twerk on Washington is a declaration of freedom and healing, advocating for the decolonization of over sexualizing Black women's bodies to reclaim an ancient sacred dances of liberation and wellness, sampling the I Have a Dream by the great Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., delivered during the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom. The shame of traditional African practices is not ours. Trauma is kept in the body. Shake it off.
Working on Washington. BLM in the building.
Now, there is actually a video to accompany that. This is real. There was a real twerking video that BLM official page posted to their Instagram and all over social media. We're not going to bring it to you here, but if you want to see it, you can just Google it. If that's what you want to do. Can I get some thoughts from the panel?
It's a choice.
Can I start? Can I start? Can I
Go
start?
for it,
Yes.
Chris. You got the floor.
So, um, that one, I think we still got to keep in mind the fact that there has been a rift between what they call the BLM sort of, recently there's been sort of a, like a split in the BLM, right? Like local chapters, right? They sent that letter, I think like 2 or 3 weeks ago, right? Saying that they kind of had problems with what was going on, right? So I don't know if this is coming from like the national BLM network organization versus the chapters. I think there was like 10 chapters that had put something out, right? So I want to make a distinction, or at least create the space to make a distinction, because I'm not sure which exactly, or where that exact, which sort of part of BLM that's coming from. I imagine that folks on the ground, or and some other parts of the BLM structure have some sort of have different thoughts about this, right? So I want to just make that space first. Secondly, the that's not the message they put on the words was not the message that I got from the video. Um, I so just in terms of the political branding, I'm gonna keep it above the belt. Just in terms of the political branding, I don't see that those two things don't go together to me, because I got a whole different vibe from watching the twerking versus what the word said. Third, I thought actually if you read the words, it kind of was like that's not what I think MLK Day is about. Like, it's not about freeing, doing liberating dances from some other continent. This is about MLK. So it was kind of like, not like that didn't make sense even inside of the messaging. That didn't make sense for me. That's my political hat on. Um, you know, I do think people were right to feel offended. There was a big backlash, on social media, on Twitter, and on Instagram. I do think people were right to feel offended. I can kind of see what they're saying, like, why is this, but I think it's not the right message for that day. So I'm gonna leave it there. Feel free to jump in.
Yeah, I'm with Chris on this one. I feel like the messaging was a bit off, right? And so I do support the idea that like there is a fight and there is struggle for obviously the Black community as a whole, but specifically for ADOS. And we can use Black joy, we can use expressions of dance in order to like fight that. Like in LA, we have a group that does like Dance for Black Lives, right? And uses dance as a form of resistance, you know? So I think like it can be used as such. There's a matter of right time and right place. And for MLK Day, this, to Chris's point, or what I'm following up on Chris's point, like it didn't feel like it hit. You know, it didn't feel like it supported what MLK stood for, and it simultaneously didn't support like a liberation or like a resistance form for our people in this time, in this era, at this moment. So I love twerking like the best of them, but it just didn't feel like right time, right place.
All right, definitely missed the mark on that. So let's go on to our next topic here.
Real quick though, what was that? What was the campaign that they had during election time? Wasn't it like get to the polls, get your booty to the polls, or something like that?
Oh, booties for Biden. Yeah.
No, it wasn't booties for Biden. It was
it was get your booty to the polls. Yeah, get your booty to the
yes,
polls. Yeah.
get your booties to the poll.
So it
Booties for
wasn't booty
Biden.
for Biden. I'm just want to make this.
Yeah,
Chris,
they're
Chris,
hijacking another initiative. So they surprised me. I'm shocked, but not shocked.
what initiative is he referring to? What are you referring to, Citizen Edge?
I'm referring to the whole hijacking of Black oppression, Black lives lost at the hands of oppression for their own initiative. You know, twerking has no place on Martin Luther King Day, and that is definitely not the best example of our ancestral history of dancing. So, you know, that's my 2 cents.
Yeah,
It is
Yep.
very poor taste, to say the least.
I think the
I
panel
agree.
panel agrees. Yep.
Yeah, we agree on that one.
Okay.
As did a lot of people on social media. Something else that we can agree on is this insurrection and what to anticipate tomorrow. I understand that they've deployed the National Guard to all 50 state capitals out here in Sacramento. It appears to be gridlocked down like Fort Knox, is the reports that I'm hearing from people who have actually seen it. Don't know what's going on in other areas. Have you guys seen a large military presence?
Most definitely, I've seen it firsthand. I've seen it firsthand. There are also other points of interest and where the National Guard and the stringent um, protection of by the government is showing its teeth at. But yeah, it's crazy. You know, that insurrection right there, like I said, is definitely a prime example of, you know, white supremacy, white privilege coming to the front, you know, screen of everybody's home. But the National Guard, yes, it's all in full force. I can only imagine what tomorrow will bring, but all that money being poured into security, into guarding, you know, buildings and interest, and where we saw the prequel of this grand display, which will be, you never know where it's going to happen tomorrow, but all the resources are being concentrated in certain areas, is leaving everybody else, you know, defenseless and vulnerable. So, you know, don't look forward to it, but you know, it's 2020 on crack right now.
Yeah,
I
I want to
mean,
follow real quick if I could. The so I actually I write part time for the Elk Grove Tribune here in Northern California. I wrote a like a story last week. It's at elkgrovetribune.com, and it just sort of previewed what the presence of the National Guard would be here in Sacramento. So Gavin Newsom, Governor California, authorized as many as 1,000, I believe, National Guard, late last week, and then also some extra security stuff to protect state property, government property in and around the Sacramento area. So So I actually am going to, and this is, I'm breaking this news here. I'm going to be at the Capitol tomorrow. All right, covering the story for the Elk Grove Tribune for a very short amount of time.
In
All right.
DC, in DC,
No,
So
no,
he gonna be in SAC.
in
here,
SAC.
here in
Okay,
Sacramento.
okay,
Yeah,
okay.
I'm not going
So
to
I'm jealous because I was
Nah,
supposed to be in DC, but I'm falling
no,
back. So I'm gonna look to you.
see.
There's still time to get out to Sacramento, CEO. You get on. Oh
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
you're on the East Coast
Yeah, and
right
I'm on
now,
the
so
East
you
Coast right now.
can.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's right. That's right. That's right. But I am gonna be here tomorrow. But I want to make one point. Like I think so. To be honest with you, I'm not expecting the worst from tomorrow, and here's why. I think on January 6th, part of what makes terrorism effective is that you don't have to do a lot of, and I want to say a lot of damage. 5 people died on the 6th, right? So I'm not minimizing nobody's loss and suffering, but you don't have to do a large scale amount of damage in order to in order to get your point across. You could do a little bit of damage, and then the just the fear of what you might do can get you what you want. So I don't expect tomorrow. I could be wrong. Obviously, I don't expect there to be as much of a problem as we may think. I think from what we saw from January 6th, the fact that you have to mobilize 20,000 National Guard in DC, okay, 3 times as many as would be at any, quote unquote normal inauguration. The fact that you have to have every single state national or every single state has to be under some sort of threat. All 50 states are under some sort of threat. Uh, you know, they don't have to show up tomorrow. They don't have to. To be honest with you, a lot of the job is done already. And I think that that's what we saw on the 6th was rightly called terrorism, and what we're going to see is more of, hopefully not what we saw on the 6th, but we're going to see the effects of it play out not just tomorrow. And I want to make this last point: what we saw from the 6th is probably the precursor to a lot of what we're going to experience over the course of the Biden term. Remember, even after they ran up in the Capitol, 138 Republicans still voted to change the results of the election. So this is there's more going on here, but I'm not expecting tomorrow anything as bad as we think. Obviously, who knows? I mean, they had bombs, last week they had all kind of stuff. So who knows? But that's my, very biased, self-interested position, because I don't want no drama tomorrow.
Brother, you better steer clear of that Capitol tomorrow.
That part.
Nobody
That
said
part.
act upon impulse, brother.
That part.
And make a quick left back home, but yeah, that's my thoughts.
So it's not that you think that the terrorists saw such swift and immediate, justice against the insurrection participants that they'd be scared to come out.
No,
That's not what you think at all.
I
If
don't
you
think
can
that
get
was scared.
vegan, filet mignon in prison right after this, I wouldn't be scared either. I'd look forward to
Yeah,
the next
right. I mean,
the meal. So.
they got off. They walked right out of there.
They
And
sure did.
they
They
walked out of
sure
there.
did. More
Woo, we did
like
it. It's like, yo, yeah,
yeah, the amount of jail time and fines that these folks are if they get convicted, it's nothing, compared to a lot of the folks who have been, part of the uprisings and like straight activists on the BLM movement side. Like I know someone in LA who has $1 million bail and is facing life in prison for dealing with an LA mob like we just saw at the Capitol, like free Tia, like all day, free Tia.
That's
So
insane.
mhm.
That's insane.
And it's real, right?
Yeah.
So to go back to the original like question or point of discussion, whether we see an additional uprising tomorrow or whether it comes further down the line, I'm not sure, but I guarantee that there will be something, right? This isn't dead in the water. Like the folks who did storm the Capitol, they have not all been caught. And I want to recognize the fact that there were people who sat at home and watched that insurrection who were then inspired to go do something, right? And to the point that Chris was making earlier about, hey, you really don't need that much in order to make a point, right? We, at least in my head, asymmetrical warfare goes so much further than like, a massive group doing damage, right? Like you and 5 friends can go do a whole hell of a lot more damage than a crowd of 1,000 people, you know? So the lone wolves out there, the white nationalists who were inspired, like it's not over, So this year, like I said, I'm from LA, and in 2020 I've been like going hard on the ground, previous to then as well, but going hard on the ground, and we see in Europa Linda, we see, in LA itself, like these white nationalists who are showing up with guns, who are showing up to fight, who are just gung ho about their position, to the detriment of black and brown bodies. I know there's the ADOS, so specifically black bodies.
So, CEO, just real quick question. So, do you feel like it's a double standard from what happened on the 6th with the quote unquote insurrection on the Capitol compared to Black Lives Matter?
100%. Like, I know what tear gas feels like, right? I know what it feels to be shot with rubber bullets and pepper spray balls, and like to get arrested and sit in a jail or whatever for just screaming Black Lives Matters in LA, let alone at our Capitol, breaking windows, bear spraying police, punching and kicking them, and rushing into these private spaces that are just for our government, right? When's the last time like the Capitol building was stormed, right? Like we get treated a whole hell of a lot different. I will be very honest with you for that. Like we get arrested, our phones get tapped, we get followed, folks show up to our doors. Like we get treated completely different for just screaming Black Lives Matter than these folks are being treated for literally storming the Capitol with guns.
They killed the cop.
And think about that. Like these folks killed more people than all of the BLM like uprisings that occurred in all of 2020 in the entirety of the United States. Like just think about that.
And Pelosi's laptop is still missing, so definitely a double standard. And these crackpots are coming out the wood, and like CO said, they're very passionate about their stance. Let's take a listen at this video, what this anti-vaxxer has to say. People are not just upset, upset about, the government controlling our lives, every aspect, including this vaccine rollout.
So keep threatening us. Keep taking our away. Keep telling us we can't do anything about it, and see how much longer we're going to just sit here and wait to give public comment. We didn't buy guns for nothing.
Oh, shit. Okay, gangster. Yeah.
So that's kind of their, attitude.
Man.
Is they're just gonna come take it. You know how respectful we were when we were in chambers waiting to give testimony. We sat there for as long as it took.
Quiet as a mouse. Just wow. Go ahead, jump in, fam. I mean, one thing I do want to say, like, so here in Sacramento, though, we got to be careful, because y'all are here who know, every single Saturday, basically, since the election at the Capitol, the Proud Boys and Antifa been going at it. Literally every single weekend. I just got off of a city council meeting right before this, where the chief of police is having to defend his black guy, having to defend his force for being accused now of handling the Antifas, much more aggressively than they're handling the Proud Boys, and there's accusations of treating them with the kid gloves and letting them turning the other turning the other way while they're doing what they're doing. And there's regular fist fights, and they're showing they were showing at the city council meeting. They were playing video like police body cam of all of the scuffles and the fights and all of that since the election. So again, I don't expect them to be out there with the guns up, guns out, right? I don't expect that, but I do think they will be at least some confrontations tomorrow. I'm not sure how violent they'll be, and I know they'll not just be here in Sacramento. They'll be everywhere where there's probably threat now.
Let's see what they will be up against if they do show up. Strict security measures in place across the nation ahead of Inauguration Day. Law enforcement officials are bracing for possible serious security breaches and violent assaults ahead of President-elect Joe Biden swearing in, tomorrow. State and federal officials are taking no chances as the countdown begins for Inauguration Day. The heightened security comes after the violent siege at the U.S. Capitol last week from pro-Trump extremists that resulted in the death of 5 people and forced lawmakers into hiding. The FBI is seeing an extensive amount of concerning online chatter about the number of events surrounding the inauguration, according to the Bureau's director, Christopher Wray. The FBI has warned state governments that the agency is tracking plans for armed protests at all 50 state capitals and in Washington, D.C. in the days leading up to Inauguration Day. So here we are with Inauguration Day tomorrow. So I guess, like you said, we can only wait and see what happens. Wait and see who comes out for that. I know that Governor Gavin Newsom is getting prepared in California here. Well, let's take a look at what he has to say.
As our nation prepares for a peaceful transition of power for the incoming Biden administration, we're taking important steps here in California in light of what we saw at our nation's capital just last week. Our State Operations Center is actively working with federal and local law enforcement partners across the spectrum in assessing threats, sharing intelligence and information, and we will respond to any potential violent civil unrest leading up to or during the inaugural if required. We're treating this very seriously and deploying significant resources to protect public safety, critical infrastructure, and First Amendment rights. But let me be clear, there will be no tolerance for violence. That's why today, along with the CHP and Office of Emergency Services, I've activated the California National Guard to support the CHP to enhance security with an initial deployment of up to 1,000 Guard members to protect critical state infrastructure in and around the state capitol. Also today, we're standing up temporary security perimeter around the Capitol. We'll, of course, share additional information and additional measures that we're taking in the coming days. But let me be clear. What we witnessed in our nation's capital was an undemocratic and unconscionable assault on our republic and the freedoms upon which our nation was founded. California will take every necessary measure to protect public safety and our democratic principles and to ensure that those disgraceful actions are not repeated here.
Yeah.
It's light talk, man.
That part, real light. They're deploying National Guard to protect infrastructure.
And you know what's crazy is that, everybody mentions, on the major broadcasting networks that, these are votes. These people, they may have done treason, which is, last time I checked, it was punishable by death still in America.
Yep.
Their votes, right? Half the country voted for Trump, blah, blah, blah. Now they threatened to show up at all these states' capital armed, right? most of these states are not open carry states. Now, if you get caught open carrying, that's a felony. Therefore, you lose your right to vote and to bear arms. So, are they really going to arrest all these people to follow through on the law of the land? What's up? If they were black, it'll be death on sight. That's how it is. So, it's just crazy. Just we'll see how this thing plays through. I think it'll be something happening tomorrow. I really do. But that's just the start. It's gonna be sustained. They're not against the swearing in only. They're against him even being in office. Personally, I don't like either one of them. However, this is gonna be a 4-year, if Biden lasts that long, to be honest with you, right? A 4-year torturous experience of waves and waves of racist, terroristic acts gone unchecked. Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's really depressing hearing Chris say that. You say it as well too. I didn't really even think about it actually further than the Capitol. I personally also would say that I don't think anything's going to happen tomorrow. For some of the reasons that Chris said too, in terms of you could already do a lot of damage with the little, right? And the Capitol thing already happened. And so a lot of damage has been done and it's still reverberating. The ripple effect is still going on. I remember when, Trump got in office 4 years ago. I remember even myself, even while the campaign was going on, just completely turning off the TV because I was like, it's too much. It's too much. And when he became president, I definitely remember at that moment, like, wow, this is going to be for the next 4 years. This is what we're going to have to deal with. The tweets, the crazy policies, the just what we've seen for the last 4 years, literally. So just to hear, yeah, this is the first time I've actually really thought about it. You guys bringing it up, like, yeah, this might be for the next 4 years. I'm not 100%, and I hope it's not. I hope we don't have to see these acts happen for the next 4 years. But it is a high possibility. It is a high possibility.
So let's keep sprinkling the political education along the conversation. The Senate. So Trump was impeached last week for the second time.
Right.
Right. So he's the first president ever to be impeached twice. The Senate. So what happens in impeachment? Right. The House does it, and then they have to send the articles of impeachment to the Senate. Then there has to be a trial. Then they could acquit or convict. Trump is going to be out of office tomorrow,
right?
But they're still going to go through with the trial. They're going to send the articles of impeachment probably sometime next week. Most likely, they were, I think, smartly waiting it. By that I mean the Democratic Party leadership, the Pelosi's and the Schumers of the world. They were probably, and the Bidens. They were probably waiting until the Republican or the there was a change in power in the Senate from the Republicans to the Democrats, which is now basically, or starting now. So we have to we even when even as Trump is going to tomorrow, we have to deal with Trump's impeachment trial starting next week. So this is definitely going to go past so tomorrow. It just has to. Right. And one thing both of you said, both you, Rita, and Citizen Edge, take a look at the treatment of these people, not just when they were, disrespecting the country and, killing a cop and, doing all kind of wild, stuff. Think about how we are talking about treating them afterwards. They getting hit with. Yeah, they get hit with charges, but they're not the real charges. They're not the real. Where is the domestic terrorism charges at?
That part.
Aggravated unlawful entry. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And breaking and entering.
Complicit murder.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So we have but that's there's a subtle white supremacy behind this, right? It's not just during the act that we get police more. It's after the fact when the punishments ain't as harsh, and we are very quick to say let's just get over it, let's forget about it, let's heal. That's what you hear now. Let's heal, right? We want to heal now. Very quick to heal, right? But no real punishment, no consequences for the 140 House members who still voted to overturn the election after they was hiding under their desks, 2 hours before that. So, and I'm not confident. So Biden has this thing where he is like trying to be the healer in chief and trying to be the, sort of, he sort of comes off as this guy who's, who sounds like in public he wants to bring people together and let's heal with one country. That's not gonna work with these people. They want, that's not the language they understand. That sounds like weakness, probably to some of them, right? So, I'm expect. And by the way, let's sprinkle some more political education. The Senate is tied 50-50. 50 Democrats, 50 Republicans. Kamala Harris, the vice president of the United States, is the tie-breaking vote in the Senate because as vice president, you become the president of the Senate. So any tie votes, she's gonna have to step down from the vice president into the Senate to cast a tie-breaking vote in favor of the Democrats. That is a big issue for getting anything transformational done, especially if we're talking about reparations. If we talking about anything big, Democrats barely control the Senate, and we have elections again in 18 months. Okay, 19 months. We're in for a wild ride, and I think both of y'all, sort of hit that nail on the head.
So, Chris, real quick question. So, in terms of the impeachment, before we go on, if he does, if he already got impeached, but he goes through this trial, what does that really mean? Does that mean he won't be able to run again in 2024, or will he not get his stipend? Like, what does that mean? Do we know?
Yeah, so there's something called the Former President's Act. I think it was passed like in 1985 or something, where the president gets all these lifetime benefits: Secret Service for life, 200 grand a year, salary, all that, for life, all top level, top secret security briefings still after they're gone, right? And in Trump's case, he could potentially run again because he was a one-term president. What if he is convicted? Then the Congress would have to pass a resolution and would have the power to pass a resolution barring him from running from any federal office ever again. So that's the presidency, all kind of any other kind of federal office. They would still have to take that next step to do it, and I believe they would also have to take that next step to strip him of his, of his benefits. So that's the worst that can happen to Donald Trump. No, salary forever, no pension, basically, and you can't run for president ever again. That's the worst that can happen to Donald Trump.
Okay, Chris, and since you brought up the Senate, do you think that we'll be expecting a lot more filibustering coming from the Republicans now that the Democrats are in charge there? Democrat majority Senate, what does that mean? And will Republicans filibuster? And before we go into your explanation, Chris, I will just read a little bit about what filibustering is. Filibuster is a tactic used in the United States Senate to prevent a measure from being brought to vote by means of obstruction. The most common form occurs when one or more senators attempts to delay or block a vote on a bill by extending debate on can't see that there. The Senate rules permit a senator or series of senators to speak for as long as they wish and on any topic they choose, unless 3/5 of the senator duly chosen and sworn, currently 60 out of 100, vote to bring the debate to a close by invoking cloture under Senate Rule. Uh, is that 12 there?
I think that's 20.
20. Ah,
22.
22.
Morals.
So yeah, so I know, Chris, you're the political goat around here. You know, I can't tell anything with Citizen SCO Rita.
All facts, all facts.
But yeah, Chris, what's your interpretation of filibustering? What is that going to mean for,
Could that stop the Trump impeachment if somebody wanted to filibuster? Or?
No, the impeachment's over. Now it's the trial. Because the Democrats control the Senate, because there seems to be enough, at least Republican Senate support right now. It's possible that we do get. So there's a possibility that Trump gets convicted. It's just a possibility, though. It's probably not going to happen, but there is a possibility. In terms of the filibuster, there's a big fight going on right now because the Democrats have the power, in theory, to get rid of the filibuster. And there's a big fight over whether or not whether or not they should actually do that. That can backfire on you when you're out of power, though, because the filibuster is a tool for the party who's not in power to be able to still have some control, right? So I don't want this vote to go forward. I'm in the minority as a party. I'm gonna just use the filibuster and extend the debate, and we're gonna debate literally for 24, 48 hours straight, which has happened. They just have like people come and speak and speak and speak and speak, right? And the Senate's weird because you have to vote to vote, right? It's weird. Senate has really, really, really weird rules. You have to vote to open the vote, vote to close the vote, vote to start the next vote. Okay, so it is, I think, going to be used. I don't think that the Democrats are going to get rid of it. I think they have a chance of being out of power, especially as we hit 2022. That the House is up and the Senate is up. So I think we will see the filibuster being used, unfortunately. And like I said, the Senate is split 50-50. So unless there are things, so what's most likely to happen is things that are very, like not so controversial, and don't piss off a lot of Republicans and don't piss off a lot of Democrats get passed, possibly, where things that piss off Republicans don't get passed. So, that is bad news for a lot of what, Joe Biden wants to do, because a lot of what Joe Biden wants to do is going to piss off Republicans. And a lot of Republicans don't think he should be the president anyway. So, almost anything he does, in some cases, to some people, is going to piss them off. That's why you're seeing, for example, I think this is a part of the topics, soon, that we're seeing Joe Biden talk about what he's going to do by executive order, right? Because they realize, I think his political team realizes that they're going to have a hard time getting anything through Congress that's like anything they really, really want. So whether it's, even that $2,000 stimulus check that we all wanted last, week or whatever, or, last month, and may have a chance at getting that in the next stimulus, which is supposed to be coming, that's even controversial now, right? So, that's why I think we're seeing Biden pivot to what he can do by executive order, but we will see the filibuster being used for sure.
All right.
Okay.
Should we move on?
Yeah, I kind of jumped ahead, but Chris, I actually wanted to ask you, since you're going to be at the Capitol as official press, were there strict vetting process, or how is it working tomorrow? It's not just the come one, come all show up, I mean, don't you have to go through some security measures as press to cover it?
So I'm not sure what the particular details are. We haven't had to, and I'm speaking for the Elk Grove Tribune here. We haven't had to do anything special out of the ordinary yet. I'm assuming that when we get close to the perimeters, we'll have to do, we'll have to do some screening, or we just won't be allowed, forward. Again, I'm going to keep it real quick, keep it real brief, okay? But we haven't had to do anything special yet. So, but if there is something special, that if there are special sort of rules, I will definitely be letting people know.
Okay. So let's talk about some of the rabble rousers that might show up tomorrow. Racist or righteous? We've got the Proud Boys, Kuanan, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. We've got the Boogaloo Movement, and Antifa, and NFAC. How familiar are we with these groups? And I was hearing, with the insurrection, even they were trying to push a lot of the stuff off on Antifa. They were like, oh, that was infiltration of Antifa. That wasn't our precious white supremacists. That was Antifa. What do you guys know about these groups?
I can speak to Antifa a wee bit. Antifa is sort of one of those movements that is decentralized. So there isn't one organization that organizes like across all states or even within a state, right? The way that Antifa moves is like, hey, you get together with a group of people who you trust, like with your life, and then you move to make moves to help whatever your particular city or state needs in that moment. I'm not going to go beyond that. So I would say in LA, Antifa's the folks who show up to punch Nazis, right? Antifa's the folks who come to destroy property, to call attention to a lot of the issues that are going on. Antifa's the folks who show up to protect when the LASD and LAPD are like being aggressive and shooting at the like regular people who are showing up to peacefully protest, right? And again, I'm only speaking for LA. I can't speak for any other state or city. So Antifa is not the Boogaloo movement. The Boogaloo movement is sort of along the lines of the Proud Boys, to my knowledge, and I stand to be corrected. So if anybody else have additional information, feel free to step in. But they are an extremist political movement, right wing. But Antifa don't roll with them, unless we're talking about like your your Second Amendment rights. Antifa and them don't really cross paths.
And since you're boots on the ground out there with all these groups, can you differentiate between the groups when you see them?
I can in LA, and that's only because I'm on the ground in LA. Like if I just picked up and went to like Seattle or DC, maybe not. But in LA, yes, I can, because Antifa has a different flag, Antifa moves differently, Antifa organizes differently. And the Proud Boys, like Antifa will be in the hood, Antifa will be in downtown LA, they'll be anywhere that they need to be, right? Proud Boys go to Beverly Hills, they go to Yorba Linda, they go to Orange County, they go to spaces where they know that they can hold space and not be, confronted, where they outnumber Black folks, where they outnumber Antifa. And again, like I said, I can't speak to any other state or location.
Now with the Proud Boys, maybe somebody can confirm this because I don't know. Now I know Proud Boys is predominantly white, but I heard that some of the like main perpetrators or main people in the group are also non-white. Is that true?
Yeah, they're mostly non-white. Mostly white, but the chairman, I think it's Cuban American. I think it's Enrique is his name. Forgot his name. Enrique Torres, I think. But they're as a whole, the Proud Boys, they're a male chauvinist, large in part racist, a group. Of course, they cloud, racist with patriotic, conservative. But yeah, the all male group, all white male group for the most part.
So, do they have some similarity with the Boogaloo Boys? And is the Boogaloo Boys the ones who wear them like tiki torture shirts, or are those white?
I'm not familiar with Boogaloo Boys, but yeah, Proud Boys. Um, Man, they're the more aggressive form, rather than the Boogaloo. The little that I know about the Boogaloo Boys, um, but yeah, like Co said, they're not, in the thick of things. They contact the police to ensure they have safe passage, and they're separate from their nemesis, which is INFAC, who, of course, INFAC has been associated with terrorism, and of course their leader was brought on some trumped up charges, to say the least. But through all of these incidents in which they are totally against when it comes to Black oppression and disparity, they respond, they react, they don't antagonize. They really were at the focal point this summer about a negligent discharge. No one was killed, unlike what happened at the Capitol, and people at the Capitol were, comparatively speaking, unarmed. They had the weapons, they had bats and spears, stuff like that. But the mayhem is definitely, night and day. But in fact, they're an armed militia within the ranks. They have some viewpoints which do not sit well with even African Americans. However, but as a group, they react to Black oppression, Black lives being killed. They reacted and they responded to the Breonna Taylor situation, Kenneth Walker situation in Louisville. So yes.
And so I'm sure like pretty much everybody on this panel knows, and people in the chat knows, but from my understanding, it's predominantly all Black, right? The militia group, NFAC.
Yes, it's all Black. Yeah.
Yeah, they're all Black. NFAs, not fucking around crew. Yeah.
Yeah, just for the record. Just in case. I mean,
Citizen,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
So yeah, I was gonna ask Citizen Edge. I was interested as you were talking about NFAC and doing what you do and talking about being armed and the Second Amendment and guns and all of that. Like, I feel like you're heavily, knowledgeable about that. Would NFAC, I'm not sure where they are today with the leader coming down with the charges, but would that be a group that you would join possibly or become a part of in your area or start a chapter? I don't know if that's too personal to ask, but
No.
Okay.
No,
I ain't trying to start nothing.
No.
Okay.
I'm not.
Right.
I respect a lot of things.
Yeah.
That NFAC stands for through and through. Now, if there were to be, a hypothetical situation, I'm rocking with them. But no, I wouldn't join them. No, not at all.
Okay.
I'm solo. You know what I'm saying? I'm all about Black people, whether or not your father or your mother is white, whichever. You know what I'm saying? And if people want to roll with us and they're not Black, hey, come in. However, all skin folk ain't kinfolk. That's all I gotta say about that.
Right. Yeah.
So, Citizen A, do you think that there's a double standard even with these groups in the way that NFAC is treated versus the Boogaloo Boys?
Of course. It's crazy. I am in shock. I really am. It's understood that there's always been a disparity between, African Americans or ADOS and white people. Okay. And it's also a disparity between African Americans or ADOS and every shade of human in America. Is a disparity. It's a very touchy subject. the way that they were treated, the members of the NFAC, this summer, throughout the courses of their presence and the number of cities through these really highlighted situations where injustice still has not, injustice has still not to be served, and it will not because it closed the case, right? Um, they were just, they were criticized, through the event, through the media, after the fact, still to this day. But the way that the Antifa, who were all in the same group at the Capitol, it was QAnon, the leader, with I think the shaman, whatever they call this guy, the guy who was vegan. Come on, they would not have made it past the fence. They would have been shot on sight. There were several instances that were shown while they were in Louisville at the Kentucky Derby grounds where people were shaking the fence, and the police were aiming, looking at them, they were low ready, about to really take action. The leader, Grandmaster Jay, was looking through a scope or utilizing his flashlight, which is mounted on his rifle. I'm not saying it's the smartest thing to do because it wasn't, but to be hit with those charges, he was aiming his scope or his flashlight in the direction of what 4 Secret Service men and a group of law enforcement officers, and his charges of I think assault with a deadly weapon was multiplied 4 times. That doesn't make any sense. But these people, they stormed the Capitol building. I'm saying there's no building in the world that's more known to be hands off other than the Pentagon. And this is when Congress was in session. They stormed it. They beat police officers in riot gear with spears, bats, killing not only the guy, the one police officer, but also one of their own. People, it's absurd. It would have been death penalty laid out, charges have been laid out very clear. People have been, once again, as the leader said, of NFAC, Grandmaster Jay, they still would have been counting the body bags had that been African Americans, the Capitol, to this day. So it's a glaring disparity between the two groups.
And so since they come out for Black issues and Black injustice issues, they probably wouldn't be at any of this inauguration stuff anyways, because
no, it's not our fight.
Not our fight. Okay.
No. It's not a real issue. They're mad because their sitting president didn't get reelected. They riot when their hockey team wins the NHL championship or Stanley Cup. We tear up a store within our neighborhood, which is not owned by us. They want to call us terrorists and thugs. They stormed the U.S. Capitol. Yep. The U.S. Capitol. This is not a weekend or holiday. This is when, during a weekday, Congress is in session, yelling out, hang Mike Pence, the vice president. Like, come on, man. This is sick. They had a noose up. What do you call it? The gallows, or what do they call it?
Yeah.
They had time to erect that. Are you serious? But now they want to lay out 25,000 National Guard troops around the Capitol and lock down D.C. and fortify all 50 states. What? This is a slap in the face tenfold.
Yeah. They should have done that back on January 6th, and we wouldn't be going through this right now. So let's talk about.
Oh, one more thing. It's one more thing. It's just that it's not that an event may happen tomorrow, but God forbid a young Black male is just yelling out the truth, and he becomes a victim, and the forces of 25,000 National Guard troops are laid upon him. That will, man, I don't look forward to tomorrow at all. I hope our people are safe, but man, it doesn't look good. And this is not just for tomorrow, but 4 years to come. And I think Trump is going to eclipse Joe Biden as a president with this trial, with this.
I think we lost him.
Very weak.
Oh, he's back.
Oh, what happened?
We lost you for a sec.
We
Oh,
lost
my
you. You
bad.
were saying that Trump or Biden was going to eclipse Trump as a president or vice versa.
Yeah, I think like you said, Trump is not gonna be in office after tomorrow, but his support, his ambiance, his strength is going to eclipse Biden's. You know, he's trying. Biden was known as a straight with no chaser. You know, braggadocious, just blurting out stuff. But Trump really has taken that and monopolized it. So he's trying to transition to this weakling. But the support of Trump, the shadow of it, it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be overbearing for Biden. I don't see him lasting. To be honest with you, I really don't.
So Trumpism will live on.
Oh yeah.
And speaking of Biden, oh, were you going to say something?
Oh no, go ahead. Feel free.
Okay. Trumpism will live on. Speaking of Biden, let's see what he has in store for the American people. Vaccines, stimulus checks. Here's what's in Biden's plan. Virus containment, a $20 billion national program, stimulus checks of $1,400 per person, in addition to the $600 checks Congress approved in December, a temporary boost in unemployment benefits, and a moratorium on evictions and foreclosures will be extended through September. The federal minimum wage will be raised to $15 per hour. 130 billion for K through 12 schools to help them reopen safely. 350 billion in emergency funding for state, local, and territorial governments to help frontline workers. 20 billion in aid to public transit agencies. 15 billion in grants to more than 1 million small businesses, 9 billion to modernize information technology systems at federal agencies and cybersecurity, child care tax credit expanded for a year up to 4,000 per child. The list goes on and on, but I don't see reparations on it.
They ain't talking about nothing.
That's what I'm talking about. They give every excuse in the book as to why they couldn't put money towards reparations. And then here we go.
Last time I checked, wasn't it black folks that put him in office?
Hello.
And,
But
and what are we getting in the first 100 days?
yeah,
Not a dang thing.
they not gonna do anything for black people. No.
Not one. Even like he's going after like what are the folks? Like not the dreamers.
The DACA?
DACA, thank you. Deferred action something something.
Well,
Like they're literally putting time and energy towards people who are not citizens over actual citizens who have been here for generations. Which isn't to say that they don't need time and energy, because they do. But their priorities are mixed up.
Yeah, it seemed that they were gonna send some relief to the border or something like that in Mexico. I was going down the list as well too. It's wow. Of the things that there can be solved here at home, there's a lot of resources going out of America in the first 100 days. It's like, yeah, it's frustrating. I feel like someone needs to juxtapose that speech that he gave where he said, I owe you guys everything, black people. You guys have had my back. You know what I mean? Up again.
Put that to a twerking video, huh?
Right. Yeah. Right. Put that to it. Put that to it. I don't know about that. Come on now. Now we're not solving the problem with that. But I mean, shoot, Umoya, you talking about putting together, you know, bumpers and all of the stuff that ADOSCA media, you need to juxtapose that clip of Joe Biden saying that. And then just like credits run, just run his 100-day list next to him saying that black people got his back. And then just say, where's the black? You know what I mean? Like there
Talk about it.
Yeah, there needs to be, I feel like everybody's kind of talking about it, but a powerful, like, you know, piece of media or message that really gets that across is needed because there's nothing in there for Black people. Not one thing, y'all. Not
Not
one
one
thing
single thing.
specific.
Well, let's go on to looks like there was some leaked audio from Joe Biden, slow
Yeah.
Joe, according to
Uh-oh.
45. So let's see what your boy had to say.
I'm the first person, black or white, who called attention to the fact that you were finding that there was the rate of people who were African Americans who are dying was 3 times that of white people. I don't carry around a stamp on my head saying progressive and I'm AOC, but I have more of a record of getting things done in the United States Congress than anybody you know. Let's get something straight. You shouldn't be disappointed. What I've done so far is more than anybody else has done this far. Okay? Number one. Number two, I mean what I say when I say it. There's some things that I'm going to be able to do by executive order. I'm not going to hesitate to do it. But what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to do what used to, Benita, you probably used to get angry with me during the debates when you'd have some of the people you were supporting say, on day one, I'm going to executive order to do this. Not within the constitutional authority. I am not going to violate the Constitution. There is a Constitution. It's our only hope. Our only hope. And the way to deal with it is where I have executive authority, I will use it to undo every single damn thing this guy has done by executive authority. But I'm not going to exercise executive authority where it's questioned, where I can come along and say, I can do away with assault weapons. There's no executive authority to do away with that. And no one's fought harder to get rid of assault weapons than me. But you can't do it by executive order. If you do that, next guy comes along and says, well, guess what? By executive order, I'm going to say everybody can own machine guns again. So we got to be careful. I know you all know this. I know you know it. I don't think we should make that a big issue going into before January 5th when the election takes place down in Georgia. But I also don't think we should get too far ahead of ourselves on dealing with police reform in that because they've already labeled us as being defund the police. Anything we put forward in terms of the organizational structure to change policing, which I promise you will occur, promise you. Just think to yourself and give me advice whether we should do that before January 5th, because that's how they beat the living hell out of us across the country, saying that we're talking about defunding the police. We're not. We're talking about holding them accountable. I just raised it with you to think about. How much do we push between now and January 5th? We need those 2 seats about.
Yep, that's your boy Joe Biden. So, I mean, I don't know, maybe we can go around the panel here, but Chris in particular, he keeps talking about executive orders and what he can and can't do. What does that mean in terms of reparations? Is there anything that he can do in terms of executive order, what he's not going to do?
Yeah, he keeps telling you what he's not going to do. And what you're not supposed to ask for and what you better not, say. You see the tone?
Yep.
You see how he talked to you like children, right? He's in a room with Al Sharpton, Gwendolyn Eiffel, Derek Johnson, president of NAACP, other other folks, right, who lead big organizations, right? Kamala sitting right there too, and he's talking big tough, with his shoulder out, I mean, it was his chest out, and flexing his shoulders. I mean, he's telling you what he's not going to do, and this was before the January 5th. So he keeps referring to January 5th. He's referring to the Georgia runoff elections that happened on January 5th, where the Democrats in Georgia, Raphael Warnock and Steve Ossoff, John Ossoff, 2 Democrats won both their races actually, and now Georgia has 2 Democratic senators for the first time, I think, in a long time. First Black senator ever from the South, I think. Definitely first Black senator from Georgia ever, Raphael Warnock, and and then he's also is the pastor of Dr. Martin Luther King's old church, right? So he's saying there, I'm not going to do police reform before those elections, but I promise you I will do them afterwards. He's also saying that he's not going to do anything, with executive order that he doesn't think will withstand the test of time, right? And also, violate the Constitution. Notice the tone though here first, right? It's like I'm, we this is a very common position of government toward black folks when we want something specific. Is we can't do it. Let me tell you how hard it's gonna be. It's still the politics of impossibility. It's like we can't do this, we can't do that. What and but for other things and other priorities, they're trying to figure out how they can do it, right? There were questions about we talked about DACA just a few minutes ago. There were questions about whether or not the DACA program was constitutional. That was a Barack Obama thing. Barack Obama did that, created DACA basically through executive order. It did not go through Congress, right? The Deferred Action on Childhood Rivals, DACA, right? These are the dreamers. You know, we are constantly finding ways to do things for our priorities. When it comes to black folks, we can tell you how we can't do it. We ain't gonna do it, and I'm gonna talk loud over you, and you better be glad because I did everything. I did more than anybody else already for you. So what else you want, punk? Right? That's how he sounds. Right now, and to the other part of your question, the yes, he can create he has the power. The president has the power to create a reparations commission with his own pen, with executive order. He can impanel reparations commission. Hopefully, it's a commission better structured than the HR 40 commission, which we know we have big problems with. By the way, I want to give myself a plug here. I was on Nico House's show today, MCSC, talking about what's wrong with HR 40. So check that out. It's on YouTube right now. Shout out to Nico House and to the whole MCSC family. We were talking about HR 40. The president can appoint an HR 40 style reparations commission. Do you want him to do that or not? That's debatable, right? If you were someone who had concerns that HR 40 gave 3 picks of the commission to the president, whoever that is, you may be concerned about having a presidential commission because the president then would get all the picks. Okay, so there are, we can definitely debate whether or not it's a good thing for him or her to do that, but that is well within his power. And there are other things that the president can do by executive order as well that would benefit and target specifically Black Americans, right? Those of us who descend from the institution of slavery in this country. So he can do stuff on reparation. It's just a matter of will. He is on record, Mr. Biden, he's on both sides of the record when it comes to reparations. He's on or at least in terms of the commission support. He's on record supporting the HR 40 commission, but he's also on record opposing, what we might think of as reparations in many ways. One of his last debates, he was asked whether or not one of his last Democratic primary debates, he was asked whether or not he supported reparations. And his idea of reparations was Jim Clyburn's 10-20-30 plan, which is absolutely not reparations. So, he also has the, I guess he also has Kamala in his ear on this too, or at least there too, because Kamala is one of the co-sponsors on S-1083, which is the Senate version of HR 40. So he can do something if he wants. There's pressure coming to him to do it now from a bunch of different organizations, and we'll see what he does. The Reparations Commission bill was just reintroduced, by the way, into Congress on the 4th of January this year by Representative Sheila Jackson Lee, and it's still in its horribly bad form. So, I'll make a last plug here. I'm technically the lead organizer for the campaign to fix HR 40. So follow us at FixHR40 on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. It's FixHR40 at gmail.com if you want to get involved in the campaign to fix HR 40. It's the only nationally organized campaign to fix HR 40, to get reparations legislation right the first time. And we'll see what Biden does, but I'm not expecting anything in terms of a reparations commission from him. I would be pleasantly surprised, I guess. But then again, do you want Joe Biden picking your reparations commissioners? Maybe not, right?
I wouldn't want Kamala either after what she said when she was asked directly about reparations.
Co-sign.
Well, then that means we would have to wait 4 years minimum, and possibly 8 if they repeat this administration, before there's any movement at the federal level, and that's just too long. So we're going to have to put some pressure on these people to, do the right thing. You know what? I don't even hear anybody giving any arguments as to, nobody says that this isn't owed. I haven't heard anybody say, oh, no, we don't owe you reparations. Nobody says that. They say, it's not a priority. As a matter of fact, they don't even respond. They ignore the question. So.
Yeah, they have been ignoring everybody else to get reparations. Jewish people, Japanese Americans, Native Americans. But what other group in the history of humankind has been the victim of chattel slavery? Other slave acquisitions have been in the form of war or other means, but nothing generationally. You were born into slavery. That's unheard of. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Very bad. And the to your point, Kim, about the timeline here. So, whether there are efforts underway. I'll say this: what happens with respect to reparations legislation, whether it be commission based or even actual proposal based, right? Because there's two kinds of reparation legislation right now that I see. There's the kinds that create commissions to develop proposals, and then there are those that create or implement those proposals. In the Japanese case, it was a two-step, right? They had the Japanese commission legislation first, I believe in 1980, and then between 80 and 83 or 80, 82, and then in 85, they came back with legislation to implement the proposals that the commission had, sort of created, right? And what happens for us will largely depend on us. What happens for reparations legislation over the next 2, 4, 8 years will largely depend on the people sitting here, if the people in the chat, the people on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, the people in our communities, and it will largely depend on how effective we are. One, in building public support right now. I think we're still less than 50% sort of general public support for reparations in general. So no matter what kind of legislation you have, if you have that, if you're sort of underwater with respect to public support generally, you're going to have a hard time getting Congress to do anything meaningful. So we have a job to do. We have a number of jobs to do, but one of those jobs is going to be to raise public awareness and education and support for reparations, just period, right? No matter what, right? Not even talking about specific legislation, right? We have a problem. Even we have a problem in some parts of our own community, right, where we have to do some convincing of our own people that we need reparations and it is a priority. And so I'm just trying to make a point that what happens with respect to reparations is going to largely depend on what we do, and whether it's whether it's a sort of 2-year time frame, whether it's it's a 4-year time frame. is going to largely depend on us.
All right, so let's take a look at what else Biden has money for besides reparations. How Biden helped create the student debt problem he now promises to fix. Among his Biden, we're talking about, promises that he will fix the student loan crisis, saddling 45 million Americans with crippling debt now totaling a staggering 1.5 trillion. Very little discussion has been devoted to how this monumental disaster came about. How was it, for instance, that the sum of outstanding educational loans borrowed from private financial entities shot up from 56 billion in 2005 to 150 billion in just 10 years, contributing to an overall student debt burden second in the US only to home mortgages? Despite his Biden protestations, it is indisputable that Biden was an avid supporter of the 2005 bill as a whole and as its overall thrust of tightening up bankruptcy code, largely to the benefit of lenders at the expense of distressed families who would find it harder to file bankruptcy. Biden was one of the most powerful people who could have said no, who could have changed this. Instead, he used his leadership role to limit the ability of other Democrats who had concerns and who wanted the bill softened, said Melissa Jacoby, a law professor at University of North Carolina, specializing in bankruptcy. Other leading Democrats and consumer advocates did say no in the Senate debate in the 2005 bill. Ted Kennedy was scathing about its implications.
Student debt. Go ahead, Rick. Go ahead, Rita.
Did someone say already tonight the phrase? Oh no, I was having a conversation earlier. The phrase "Johnny come lately."
Yeah.
He's just consistently that guy. He's consistently in the moment. Like how he was on that phone call. He's like, "You think I'm going to be like AOC? What do you mean?" For you to even use that as an example of what you're not, that's not a good thing. I don't know how else to put it. But in 10 years, you are going to be talking about, oh yeah, we should definitely do the Green New Deal.
Yeah.
That's how I feel this situation is. And I feel like he's always been Johnny come lately on stuff. And that's not a good sign at all. Making that 2005 decision and shooting up that student loan debt over 100 billion. You know what I mean? Like that's there's I just think that you have to have vision beyond the trees. You just have to really kind of move things forward. And I think unfortunately there's just been several and many times that Biden has shown to not really have that vision beyond the trees, and
Yep.
yeah, I really think it's gonna trip us up, because don't get me wrong, I want student debt eliminated. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Right. So that's a thing, and glad it's on the list now, but you're late, and the wounds have already been made. And when we look at all of the issues on the table at this point in time, where would you really prioritize student loan debt versus reparations versus something for Black folks specifically? You have this one thing, huge thing, but still in this moment, does it add up to this other thing? And the fact that it's not even in the conversation of his 100 days, Yeah, it's discouraging, I think, to imagine what this 4 years is going to be like as far as moving things forward and being progressive and being like AOC. You know what I mean? It's just, wow, everything's going to get so much pushback. I feel like from him because not having that vision beyond the trees, not being able to see like, hey, this is good. You know what I mean? And going the other way. So anyways.
Cosign.
You're right. It's like he causes all these problems, just like the 94 crime bill. And now here we are depending on him for
Good point.
police reform.
Good point.
100%.
No, we're doing well.
100%.
He ain't gonna do it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the student loan, it reminds me of, what is it? Housing by proxy, that disease where you cause all the problems and then you come in and try to
1000
be the
disease.
hero. Yeah. And then try to, correct these problems that you created. That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
Well, I
I
wish he
got
had the same energy for the crime bill, so anything is to deal with African Americans, it gets pushed aside, ignored. All the energy about, like you said, police reform, if not
Right.
reparations, let's worry about Black lives, in the concrete aspect. If you guys want to ignore the abstract generational wealth, capitalistic society, aspect. So it's crazy, man. That's why I didn't vote for him or Trump, for that matter. Hey, should we get your mind?
Cosign. I mean, I agree with what the panel was saying overall. Biden as a whole is very much, to Rita's point, a Johnny come lately, but only a Johnny come lately when it is in favor for him. Like he was all about the crime bill. He was all about locking all of the people who look like us away until he needed to run for presidency. And then it was, hey, I'm sorry. Oh, hey, by the way, we'll figure this
I don't
out.
think he ever apologized.
He gave like a half ASS one. But in the end, after he got our votes, after he got the folks in his favor, we see in the first 100 days he has nothing for us, just as the past Democrats have. Right? Like this isn't, he's following in the trajectory of the folks who have come before him. Right. So he, just like the rest of the Democratic Party, is accustomed to just like our guaranteed votes, but not having that exchange. Right. We're supposed to vote for an exchange. I vote for you. You give me what I need. But they just take our votes. Right. And Biden and Kamala, like it doesn't matter that she has pigmentation in her skin. She is not of us. She does not support us or our needs. So it doesn't matter. We don't just need black faces in high places. Right. So Biden, like I encourage anyone who is watching the show or anyone else who is interested to go off and watch that entire, like it's like an hour and a half, 90 minutes or whatever, session that we played like a snippet of, so that you can understand and see like what Kim is talking about, what Umoja and everybody else is talking about and Chris as well, in terms of like the like in his voice when he is talking to supposedly like the gatekeepers for the Black community, right? And I have issues with the gatekeepers, but we're going to put that aside for a moment. Like when he starts going off about, oh, well, I'm just not going to do an executive order. No one, if you listen to the entire thing, not a single person asked him for an executive order. Not one single person. He's just going off on what I just encourage folks to watch it. Like I don't want to give too much of my own smash on it, but like I encourage people to go to do the due diligence and do the research themselves so they can understand why we have such angst and are pushing back so much on Biden. Because I think it was Rita or someone else on this panel who spoke to it. Like Biden is the author of the crime bill, right? Biden and several, right? Not just one, but there were several in the 90s, right? And what I learned, right, because I'm a millennial, what I learned is that my parents' generation and such were for the crime bills because they were promised money in return, right? They were promised money in order to like feed the people who were dealing with that crack epidemic, right? They were promised money to like better the communities for education, for uplifting, and none of that money came through. So they lied to our people, as they typically do, to get those votes, to garnish those votes, and then in the end didn't deliver. And I have had, you will see if you check me out on Instagram, like just CO on Instagram, I go to battle with people against Kamala and against Biden, not because I'm for Trump, but because I recognize, given their history, they're not actually for us. They're not, they can look like us and they can talk the smack, but they're not putting votes in places that support and uplift the ADOS community. They're not making choices that make us better. They're simply using us to get to what they want. And the Democratic Party, to me, is like on its way out, for the simple fact that they chose Biden and Kamala, even though they were not leading in the polls. Right. Most of the Democratic Americans wanted more radical. We were going the way of Sanders, right? We were going, and AOC, we were going so much further left, but they chose Biden and Kamala because of the amount of center and right-wing people who they could garnish votes from, right? So the DNC, I feel like that could be a whole nother show, you know?
Well, yeah, fam. Well, it's it's about an hour and some change. We definitely get into, but I definitely want to have, if y'all down for it, next week, the following 2 weeks, whatever, that we actually have a post inauguration party and actually talk about the plan. So as CEO mentioned, what are we going to do with these gatekeepers? You know what I mean? What are we going to do with other media, like MSNBC? Etc. How can we get our message to them? Because this is very important, especially, for the generations. This is more, for the future. It's not even about us. We may not even see reparations right now, but this is for, our future generations. So, I mean, I'm going to put that out there maybe on the next show or the following, 2 shows, whenever everybody's available, that we actually have a post inauguration, because we're going to hear what Biden has to say, but we need to start planning to see what we need to do on our end to make sure that this reparation is going to get through. So what do y'all say, fam?
Yep.
I'll be there. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, one thing we can do, we know that the inauguration hashtag is going to be trending tomorrow. On every inauguration hashtag we see, we put reparations at Joe Biden at
Right.
Kamala on it and let them know.
Yep, on it.
I'm with it.
Right. Well, thank you for joining today, everybody. And unless you have anything to wrap up with, Yamoya, Chris, panel.
Can we just shout out Citizen Edge right quick? Like, what's your Instagram and Facebook and everything?
Yep.
How do we find you?
Yeah, Citizen Edge on all platforms, straight up. No hashtags, no underscore. Citizen Edge. It is what it is. Hey, you guys, stay safe. Stay alert, safe, and smart. Hey.
Yes.
Please.
Same.
Man. All
what
of
about you, Rita? What's your stuff?
100%. Same thing. Rita Forte on everything. RITAFORTE. Not rapping Forte. But yeah. Yep. But find me everywhere. Yeah, I'm gonna say a prayer tonight for the nation, y'all, for this inauguration tomorrow. Send some whatever good vibes can come from that prayer. But yeah, we'll see how it goes tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for having us. This was great.
All right. Until next time, fam, we'll just take you out. Yesterday, we honored MLK, Luther King, Dr. Martin Luther King, for his birthday. So my dream is that this administration will finally fulfill his dream, which was for reparations. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night.
On this day, as we honor the life of MLK, we not only lament the unjust assassination of a great liberation leader, we also lament his unrealized dream of economic uplift for an oppressed people. ADOS.
Racial injustice is still the black man's burden and the white man's shame. So wherever we live in America, we have to face the fact honestly that racial discrimination is present. So don't get complacent. Certainly we've made some strides. We made some progress here and there, but it hadn't been enough. It hadn't been fast enough. And although we've come a long, long way, we still have a long, long way to go.
The federally recognized Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. holiday isn't a day off, it's a day on. For all Americans vested in healing our nation by righting the long history of racially legislated socioeconomic wrongs. Black, white, ADOS, and allies. It's way past time to make Dr. King's long overdue dream of redress for American descendants of slavery a reality. Happy MLK Day, fam.
Himself by his own bootstraps. And this is what we are faced with. And this is the reality. Now, when we come to Washington, in this campaign, we are coming to get our check.
Subscribe, like, and hit the bell.